All right, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to introduce Thomas here from the RSSA. We're going to learn about Social Security benefits, understanding and optimizing your Social Security benefits. This is a really good timing for me, myself, and I, because I am right at the cusp of understanding and needing to understand all of this. So I'm going to let you go ahead and get started, Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for for being here. It's a great topic, and just to give you guys a little bit of background of who we are as an organization, RSSA, just like you guys have with the realtors, we're also a designation certification for helping people with Social Security. So RSSA stands for Registered Social Security Analysts, and we're all about helping professionals in all kinds of spaces. We work with insurance agents, realtors, brokers, advisors, and train them on how they can help their clients and potential prospects with Social Security. And it's great in many ways. One, you're truly helping people with something that's really important to them, especially a topic like Social Security that's very relevant as far as what we're seeing today. Right? There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of fear mongering going on, but ultimately clients are just looking for that security. Right? They're looking for that secure retirement. And I think Social Security is a great cornerstone to that, and an important topic to understand. And so, that's what we do. We train people to help others with Social Security and kind of use that as a way to build relationships to offer other services like, helping with real estate and all those things. So today, aside from, just a little bit of background on the designation, we also wanted to give you guys some initial information on Social Security, even if it's what I was talking to Julie about earlier, is just give some direction, right? It doesn't necessarily mean everybody here is going to become an expert, but at least if you have a sense of some kind of direction, you'll be able to give them more guidance than most people are, right? So, most clients, if you think about Social Security, it tends to be one of the more complicated topics just because there's so many rules and pitfalls and different benefits that, people are just uneducated about. And then the reason we train professionals is because it gives those clients an outlet, right? Someone to work with that really understands how the system works and not kind of just leave them hanging to figure it out on their own, right? And so, most clients have been paying into the system for the last 20, 30, 40 years, but they never really had any thought of, okay, so now that it's time to start thinking about it, what are the decisions that I need to make? What are the rules, the pitfalls that impact my specific situation so that I can make the best informed decision, right? And so we'll go over some of the basics today. We're going to talk about some of the different aspects and pitfalls that clients may come across. Just a little bit of background on me for the RSSA designation program. I am our Director of Strategic Partnerships. So we're going to be working with Julie and her team on how we can work with all of you continuously to bring more insights about Social Security and opportunities. Also a life and health license agent, husband, father of 3 rugrats running around, and then went to school here from Long Island, New York. That's where our office is located, and I've spent my life here. So for today's agenda, what we really want to talk about is, again, giving you guys a little bit of sense of one, what I think is really important is the struggle that clients have, right? The struggle of getting this education and information on their Social Security. Again, because, Social Security to many individuals is their largest retirement income, right? And just like we were talking about earlier, Julie, about how a lot of people have equity in their home, and they're looking for what they have available to them to figure out, okay, well, what's the best plan for my retirement? And so tying the two together seems to be, from my experience helping other senior realtors and people helping, is that it's just a great way to really segment helping them with both of these important things, because this is where the opportunities are. This is where it resonates with just about every single client that you're going to be working with, right? And so, aside from some of the basics and some of the different factors that go into it, we also want to get across some of these myths and misconceptions that maybe you've heard or that clients may bring up and be concerned with, again, to give them that peace of mind as well. So, for again, many individuals, Social Security is a large portion or even their only portion of retirement income, right? Yeah, a lot of people do have equity in their home, which is a great aspect to have as well. But not every client has other retirement accounts like 401ks, Roth IRAs, and all those things. A lot of people do pay into them, but there's a lot of people who are struggling in retirement because they don't have those things, but there's a need for help with things like their mortgage and their home relocating and things, as well as their social security benefits. And so the issue that clients have today is that there's very few reliable resources to get help with these aspects, right? That's why you guys exist. That's why we exist to help clients with these important decisions that, quite frankly, not enough professionals out there are helping with. And what's happening is 96% of people that claim benefits are actually leaving money on the table. And really, the biggest reason for that is that they're uneducated, right? Again, they don't know what benefits they're eligible for, they don't know the timing. And sitting down with somebody one on one, or even just having a casual conversation, can go a real long way. And I've seen it firsthand because people reach out to me all the time with just general questions, all the way upwards of in-depth planning, depending on what they're looking for, right? But what's happening is not only are 96% of people leaving money on the table, but what's more concerning is that, on average, they're leaving over $111,000 on the table. And again, for many people in retirement, that's a big chunk of money that they would have back. But a lot of people make decisions without being educated first, and whether that is listening to a family member or a friend, or just trying to do their research on their own. Again, the reason why you guys exist, the reason we exist, is because people are looking to work with someone who knows that kind of specific niche, right? So, a couple of Social Security facts that I think are always important to help clients understand, as well as your own understanding, is that, you know, aside from many clients who are, understand that Social Security is a big portion of their retirement, it also provides more than just a retirement benefit, right? And what I mean by that is the retirement benefit is the actual name of someone's own benefit, but there's also other benefits that people may be eligible for. That could be a spousal or an ex spousal, it could be a survivor benefit. There's benefits for children, right? Many people kind of associate Social Security to be, for those who are nearing or at retirement age, but there's a benefit for children, right? There could be a let's just say a couple in their 30s, and one of the spouses passes away. Well, even though that other spouse, who's the survivor, is nowhere near retirement age, if they have minor children, they're all eligible for Social Security benefits, even though they're nowhere close to retirement age, because the way Social Security works is almost like a life insurance, right? So we have to kind of think outside the box of, when we're working with families and of seniors, not only are we helping those seniors, but potentially someone in their family that, God forbid, some of these things happen to. Now, I always like to bring up this topic because it's always relevant, right? Especially over the last 5 years plus. Many people are concerned that Social Security is running out of money. And it's really important to understand how the Social Security system works in order to explain it thoroughly to a potential client or a client. Again, really giving them that peace of mind, because people are making, fearful decisions and bad decisions based on what they're hearing about Social Security is running out of money and it won't be there for them. But this is a misconception just solely based on the way that Social Security is funded. So, to give you a little bit of background, Social Security was started in 1935 by President Roosevelt. And the intention was that he wanted to keep people out of poverty. And when Social Security first started, there was 40 people paying into the Social Security system for every one person collecting. Nowadays, because so many baby boomers are retiring at once, now it's just two people paying in for every one person retiring. And that's why the trust funds are taking such a big hit, is because so many more people are collecting than it used to be for those who are actually paying in. However, the reason why this is a misconception that Social Security is running out of money is because the system works as a pay as you go system, meaning that those who are paying in now are paying for those who are collecting, just like it's always been. Now, the issue with that is that covers 80% of benefits, right? Which is the majority, right? And that'll always be. There's always going to be a pay as you go system, which will cover 80% of benefits. So people get confused because the misconception says there's going to be no money for them. But in reality, it's only going to be a 20% cut across the board. Now, even with a 20% cut, we still don't want that to happen either. The last time something like this happened was in 1983. And unfortunately, they didn't make changes until that year. So, just based on the way that unfortunately the government works and Congress works, we may not see changes until 2033, 2034 when this extra 20% is cut. But if we do, there's very little minor things that can be done to prolong the program to pay off 100% of benefits for hundreds of more years, right? For example, right now, anybody who makes over $176,100 or more, the 6.2% Social Security tax stops coming out of their check. If they just erase that cap and all earned income gets taxed for Social Security, that alone would make that 20% last hundreds of more years. And there's plenty of other changes that can be made too. Unfortunately, we need to start, having a voice, and that's kind of what our organization is about as well. Is being that voice. We've gone to, Washington D.C. We've talked to Congress. We're really advocates to make sure that they can pay out 100% of benefits, especially because it's such an important benefit for the senior population. So, in fact, 3 out of 4 Americans are concerned that Social Security will actually run out in their lifetime. And again, they're not just thinking that it's going to be a 20% cut. Most people think that it's just going to be completely depleted and they're going to get no benefits. And it's really because a lot of the, clickbait articles and misinformation and all this fear mongering going on. But when you're talking to clients and they bring this up about, I'm just going to collect now because it might not be around or whatever, they're saying. It's important to bring up these type of things because, this gives them that peace of mind. This says, wow, I didn't know that's how the system actually worked. And this helps people make better decisions. Now, another thing that happens, which is very concerning, are overpayments. If you haven't seen this segment already, there was a 60-minute segment done on Social Security overpayments. You can look it up on either Google or YouTube, just type it in, and it talked about how over 1 million Americans are overpaid each year from Social Security. And we're not talking about just a few dollars here or there, but we're talking about people who owe back $50,000 to $250,000 in overpayments. And it's all because when they first were starting to collect, they received wrong or misleading information, either from a rep at Social Security directly or an advisor that said that they know what they're doing when they really don't. That's why the designation exists. And the Social Security Administration, by law, is not allowed to give advice. They're allowed to answer questions, but you might call them 2 or 3 times and get a different answer every time. They're not there to genuinely help clients like the way that they need. And so this is a concerning thing because, if you have a client who owes back a large sum of money, they have to either pay that back in a lump sum or their Social Security check will be cut by 50%. So if you have somebody on a budget that is getting $3,000 a month and all of a sudden through no fault really of their own, they now are getting $1,500 because of an overpayment, that's really concerning. right? And that could really drastically hurt somebody in retirement. This is why I love to help clients with Social Security myself, is because I want to help people avoid these mistakes and avoid these risks, because no one should have to face that in their retirement. So we also want to think about a holistic planning approach, right? Every client has, and every American, right? Everyone that we work with has a different situation. Some people have Social Security as their only retirement income. Some people have a whole bunch of assets. Some people don't. Some people have a lot of equity in their home. Other people are renting an apartment, right? All these different scenarios come up, and that's how things should be planned for. Is what are your specific circumstances? What are your goals for retirement? Do you want to go on vacations? Do you have a hobby, right? And based on what their fixed expenses are, right, their mortgage, insurance, food, utilities, you want to try to offset that with as much dependable income as possible. Now, there's very few dependable income streams now. Social Security is one. There might be some private pensions left, but most of the pensions now are contributing into 401ks and Roths and things. And so it's very hard to come by this dependable income. That's where you guys can help with the real estate part of it, as well as optimizing when they claim their Social Security benefits will offset some of these concerns, right? Especially when we talk about longevity. Most people, I think the biggest fear in retirement is outliving their funds. So if we can help them understand and optimize their benefits, as well as some of these other things that you guys are helping with, it's going to offset those longevity risks, right? So let's next talk about some of the important Social Security terms. Now, there's so many different terms that you would come across and acronyms and things like that. So I pointed out here the 4 most important ones that resonate with just about every single client that you would come across. So we'll talk about in more detail what these are, but we're going to go over full retirement age, a primary insurance amount, delayed retirement credits, and the cost of living adjustment. So the first one, full retirement age, you might also see FRA for short, is the age at which someone would receive their full retirement benefit, right? This is a misconception that some people think it's 65 for them because that's when Medicare starts, but your full retirement age is actually based on the year that you're born. So as you can see on the chart here, anyone born in 1943 to 54 has a full retirement age of 66, and then it incrementally increases 2 months every year until those born in 1960 or later now have a full retirement age of 67. Now, why this age is so important is the fact that you actually receive at this age what's known as your primary insurance amount, or your PIA, right? So that was another important term here. So your PIA, or primary insurance amount, is the monthly retirement benefit you would receive if you start collecting at your full retirement age. This PIA really creates all of the other numbers that surround it, from taking as early as 62, and then the delayed retirement credits, which is also on here as well, is the increases they get by collecting after their full retirement age up to age 70, where Social Security then maxes out. And there's also a lot of Social Security rules and regulations and pitfalls that surround this full retirement age, which we're going to talk about today as well. Now, many of you have probably heard the term cost of living adjustment. You might also see COLA for short. But it's important to know about how the cost of living adjustment actually impacts Social Security benefits. As you see in this chart here, we had, starting during COVID in 2022, the largest cost of living adjustment we've seen in over a decade. And then obviously, even in 2023, it went up further. And then even tapering off with 24 and 25, these are still higher than what we've seen in the decade prior to 2021, right? And the reason this is so important is because every client, every American receives the cost of living adjustment, whether they are collecting benefits or not, from age 62 and on. So the problem was during COVID, they saw this 5.9 and 8.7%, and everyone thought that you needed to be collecting to get that. And so people just started collecting to make sure they got it. Meanwhile, they would have gotten it either way, right? So it's important to understand is that you don't need to be collecting to get this cost of living adjustment. You just need to be at least 62 or older. And also, it compounds each and every year. So I know a lot of clients that I've worked with, they ask, well, does it make sense to take out Social Security early and invest it? But you're getting a guaranteed 8% a year by leaving it in, just by the way the benefits increase, right? Those delayed credits, as well as the compounding cost of living adjustment. So if you're getting 8% plus 5.9%, the next year 8% plus 8.7%, you're drastically and significantly increasing your benefits actually by leaving them in, almost as if it's growing your money for you, right? Whereas if you took the money and invested it during COVID, right after COVID, we saw a big hit in the market and they would have lost out on all that money. So a lot of this is about protection, making sure that they have that dependable income source from at least one option, which is their Social Security. So today we want to talk about 4 specific types of benefits. There is a 5th benefit, which is disability benefits, that we're not going to go into too much detail today. But the other benefits that we want to discuss is a retirement benefit, which is based on someone's own work record. You have a spousal benefit, which can be based on either a current or an ex-spouse, depending on eligibility. Survivor benefits, which can also be based on a deceased current spouse or a deceased ex-spouse. There's also dependent children and disabled children that are eligible as well. We'll talk about that. And then the dependents, what counts as dependents are biological children, adopted children, stepchildren, and even legally dependent grandchildren while that parent is collecting, or if the parent were to pass. We're going to talk about the different criteria there as well. Now, as far as benefits and what you see for the calculations is really important, because a lot of people want to know, well, where is Social Security coming up with these calculations? They don't exactly show you in detail where they're giving you that benefit estimate. And it's also important to know is that the estimate that you get from your Social Security account is not always accurate. And the reason for that is that a lot of times Social Security will make these assumptions that may or may not be accurate. But on top of that is it only looks at the individual, right? It doesn't know if that person is has a spouse or an ex-spouse or a deceased spouse. It's not going to tell them, what they're eligible for and the rules that they need to know. And so you don't want to just have clients look at the statement and go solely off of that. There's a lot more involved to it, especially the fact that that statement amount is not always accurate. I've seen it off as much as $500 per month or even more, which is really concerning. So instead, to understand how the benefits are calculated, Social Security actually takes your top 35 years. And if you don't have 35 years, they actually take zeros into consideration as well. Now, having zeros or small years in your top 35 is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you do plan to continue to work, you might be working and earning enough where your new earnings is replacing your smallest year in your high 35, right? So if you're in your 60s and you continue to work for the next 5, 10, 15 years or whatever it is, you may be replacing those smaller earnings years with your new earnings, and therefore significantly increasing your benefits as well. So all of this calculates your primary insurance amount. As I said earlier, your primary insurance amount, or your PIA, is simply just your monthly retirement benefit at your full retirement age. And they basically take your top 35 years that we talked about just before, and they divide that up and put it into a calculation that creates this PIA. Now, I don't want you to get too much into the nuance of the calculation. I just wanted to kind of display it here to show you the steps. But mostly what clients are looking for is an understanding of, what am I getting monthly and annually out of the benefits? and at what age should I claim? What are the types of benefits I'm eligible for? And what are the things I need to know in order to make the best decision? Now, to be eligible for a retirement benefit, which again is a benefit based on your own work record, you just need 40 quarters, also known as credits, to qualify. Now, this usually constitutes as 10 years worth of work because you can earn up to 4 quarters or credits per year, times 10 years would generally get you to the 40 quarters to qualify. Now, once you have those quarters, that's when they use those top 35 years to calculate your primary insurance amount, which is right here, your full retirement age. And you get benefits from 62 to 70. Now, the difference is that if you claim before your full retirement age, you get the reductions for taking early. And then if you claim after full retirement age up to age 70, you would get those delayed retirement credits, which are basically an increase of 8% per year. Now, even though it's known as 8% per year, you actually get a monthly increase. So each month you wait after full retirement age, you'll get a little bit of an increase. You don't have to wait the entire year. As far as spousal benefits, the big difference with spousal versus retirement benefits is that spousal benefits do not get delayed retirement credits. So as you can see here, there's a max at full retirement age and they don't increase after that. Now, a spousal benefit is only available either on a spouse or an ex-spouse, depending on criteria, if your own retirement benefit is not as much as what you can claim on your spouse. If your own benefit is higher, you won't be eligible. But if you have a small enough benefit where claiming 50% of your higher earning spouse's primary insurance amount would be higher, you would get that spousal portion. Now, the criteria for spousal benefits is that they start at 62. Again, they stop increasing at full retirement age. For current spouses, you need to be married at least 1 year. But you can only claim a spousal benefit once that spouse who you're claiming on has collected on their own record. That's a really important aspect of this as well. Now, for divorce, you need to have been married at least 10 years. Social Security is very strict with this 10-year rule. I had a client at 9 years and 10 months, and they were denied. So it's very important to reach this 10 years. Now, you and your ex-spouse, or if we're working with a client, your client and their ex-spouse both need to be at least 62 years old for you to claim on that ex-spouse. And then your client or you are currently single. As soon as you get remarried, you automatically give up the rights to that ex-spousal benefit. So you need to be currently married. So for dual entitlement, this really means that you're entitled to more than one benefit at the same time. So if you're entitled to your own benefit, right, your retirement benefit, but like I said, you might be entitled to a spousal benefit as well if it's more than what you can claim on your own record. So in this case, we put that there's at full retirement age, right? There is a $1,500 total spousal benefit, right, from your spouse or your ex-spouse. Now, in this case, their own retirement benefit is $1,000. So for the $1,500, you would get $1,000 on your own record, and the additional $500 would come from the spousal, what's known as the spousal top-off. So it's not like you get the $1,000 on your own and the $1,500 spousal, but it's more so a combination of both. More coming from you, as much as possible coming from your record. Anything remaining will then come from that spousal portion. Now, for survivor benefits, there's really two different situations for survivor benefits. The easier situation is that if you and your spouse are, been collecting for many years, you're in your, 70s, 80s, 90s, and one of you passes away, usually the higher of the two benefits remain. So if you and your spouse are both claiming and, you're the higher earner and you're the survivor, you're just going to continue to get your own benefit. But if the lower earning spouse is the survivor, they actually inherit that higher earner's benefit. Now, again, they don't get both, but they would get the higher of the two, right? Would remain. Now, that's one situation. The other situation is if you are coming to a situation where there's a younger widow or widower, maybe in their early 60s. Well, Social Security benefits for survivors start as early as age 60 rather than 62, like retirement and spousal benefits. Obviously, if you take early, you're going to be reduced, just like a spousal benefit and a retirement benefit. And then, just like spousal benefits, survivor benefits max out at full retirement age. There's no delayed retirement credits, right? And so, one of the cool things that you can do with a survivor benefit is, especially if you're in your early 60s, you actually have the ability to take a survivor benefit first and delay taking your own retirement benefit, or the other way around. You might take the the retirement benefit first and delay the survivor. Depending on which one is higher, you would delay that one. But this gives you some flexibility if something happens earlier on, you have the ability to take one while delaying the other, right? You can no longer do that with spousal benefits. That used to be allowed with spousal benefits, but in 2015, they repealed that rule, and now you can no longer do that, but you still have the opportunity with survivor benefits. Now, as far as criteria, the current spouse of that deceased spouse, they just need to have been married at least 9 months instead of the 12 months for spousal. And then if divorced, again, it's married at least 10 years. Now, as you can see in the chart here, these numbers are a lot higher than a spousal benefit. And here's the reason why. If you're entitled to a spousal benefit, it's only as much as 50% of that primary insurance amount. Okay, so remember, the primary insurance amount is that higher earners amount at their full retirement age. So spousal, you can only get up to 50% of that. For survivor benefits, it's based on the higher earners benefit, not just the PIA, but it's based on their benefit, and it could be at the full 100%. But usually survivor benefits are a lot more money than just a spousal while that spouse is living. Now, lastly, as far as who can claim, we have dependent benefits. As I said earlier, that could be current children, stepchildren, adopted grandchildren, depending on criteria and the states and all things like that. Obviously, for grandchildren, they would have to be legally dependent. But any child who is eligible would include minor children under 18, or they get till 19 if they're still in high school at that time. Any children with disabilities, if the disability onset happened before age 22. What happens is that if someone was disabled before 22, there's no age limit, right? It's called a disabled adult child. They might be 30, 35, 40, still living at home, but they've been disabled before 22. They're always eligible for benefits based on that collecting parent, and then also when the parent passes too. Now, there's also a third dependent, which is a spouse who is any age. So you have the one spouse who's collecting, they're at least 62 or older, and you have the younger spouse who may not even be 62 yet, and they can claim what's known as a spousal in care benefit. If they're caring for a child under the age of 16 or a disabled child, they can also claim as a dependent. Now, while that person is collecting and they're alive, all of these dependents are eligible for 50% of their primary insurance amount. And then when they pass, it's up to 75%. Now, the reason I say up to per dependent is because there's a family maximum. Now, the family maximum is the maximum amount that Social Security will pay out based on one person's earnings record. If someone has 10 dependents, they're not just going to pay out a whole bunch of money for everybody. There's a maximum amount per family that they would pay out. Now, we also have what is known as the Social Security earnings test. Now, this is really just a fancy name for earnings limit. It limits how much someone can earn while they're collecting their Social Security benefits. Now, these limits only happen if they claim before their full retirement age. So if they claim at full retirement age or later, there's no more income limitations. They can earn as much as they want without any reductions. But before full retirement age, there are some deductions that take place if they decide to collect and work at the same time. They would need to look out for these limits. Now, the first thing we should discuss is what counts and what does not count towards these earnings limits. So the only thing that really counts is either employment income, W-2 wages, or net income from self-employment. Those are really the only things that they're counting. Anything like pensions, annuities, retirement income, rental income, inheritance, none of that counts towards this earnings limit. It's only earned income from wages or the net income from self-employment if you're self-employed. All the other income does not count. Now, if someone is still earning wages or has net income from self-employment and they are deciding to collect before their full retirement age, there are two different limitations. The first limitation is $23,400. This happens between age 62 and the December right before that person will actually reach their full retirement age year. So if someone reaches full retirement age in 2026, then they have from 62 to December of 25 to be able to earn 23,400. Anything they earn more than that, they'll have their benefits reduced by half. Now, in the year that someone will actually reach their full retirement age from that January through that month, they'll be able to earn 62,160, and anything over, they'll have a third of their benefits reduced, right? So really what this means is that if someone is earning significantly over these two limits and collecting, usually it just doesn't make sense for them to even start collecting. If someone says I'm going to earn, 70,000 and I want to collect at 62, that entire benefit is going to be reduced down to zero. And so the discussion with clients is, are you still working? And if you are you going to be over that limit? Because if you are, a lot of times it just doesn't make sense to collect at that time. And I think a lot of people lose sense of that and go to claim and end up getting either no benefits or potentially an overpayment if they don't let Social Security know that they're earning well over the limit. Now, I think especially those who are in California, based on CalSTRS and CalPERS, saw some of these impacts. But there was a rule that was repealed in January of this year, which impacted those who have non-covered pensions. Now, for those of you who don't know, a non-covered pension is a pension that either you are receiving or will receive from work that did not pay into Social Security. They only paid into that pension plan. And so the difference between CalSTRS and CalPERS, for those in California, one paid in, one did not. What ended up happening was if you were having a non-covered pension because you didn't pay into the system, you still usually were eligible for benefits based on other work performed, whether it was teachers who worked summers and paid in, or whether it was a different career at some point, they still had enough to claim Social Security. But not only was their Social Security benefit already low as it is because they weren't paying in during this job, but then the Social Security said you're also going to be impacted by these two rules called the Windfall Elimination Provision, WEP, and the Government Pension Offset, the GPO, which significantly limited even a lower benefit than they were already getting. And so they ended up saying this wasn't fair, and finally in this year it was repealed. And so anybody who was already collecting back to January of 24 that year would have got a lump sum to make up what they would miss out on that year, and now would have a higher benefit going forward. So especially in California, that was one of the states that really impacted by this. But if you're in other states, some states, didn't have anybody that didn't pay in, and some states did, like teachers, firefighters, police officers in certain states. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to unmute and ask any questions that you have. This was recorded, and if you are interested in learning more about the RSSA program and helping clients with helping your own clients with Social Security, I have my contact information here, my phone number, as well as my email. Reach out and we can have a discussion on that.
So how do you interact with clients? I mean, what would our call to action be in your service?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two ways that you can work with us. It's, do you want to get certified on your own? Right? We have a certification process where you can help your own clients with this, or if that's not something you're interested in, but you'd love to provide this service to your clients, you can work with us where we'll work with your clients. And, we don't overstep as far as selling products or anything. We strictly help them with Social Security for a fee for service. Or, like I said, if you're interested in becoming an RSA yourself, we can walk you through the certification process and help you understand how this can work into your own clients and your own business.
So is this a consultation? Is this a fee for service? Do you issue a statement of Social Security health or, something like that?
Yeah, so and excellent question. So yeah, most of the members we have are will charge some kind of fee. Whether it's $100, $200, $300, whatever it is, and it really depends on maybe complexity of the case and how much they're offering. But essentially, bottom line is that we provide a personalized Social Security analysis, which is a comprehensive report that's personalized to their situation. It'll go over the benefits they're eligible for, their calculations, the rules and pitfalls that impact them. And by going through that report, it gives them something tangible, and you can go through a one-on-one with them for a consultation. Usually that's done either for a fee, or some agents and advisors are doing it to attract new clients for other lines of business.
Okay, because I'm connecting. I just had a conversation with the client the other day, and she recently became a widow. And so we were talking about her Social Security status and current status. And basically, she just followed whatever the people told her at the funeral home to do, which I found problematic. So, um,
It can be problematic. I came across somebody yesterday that was referred to me who said that their accountant told them to claim a survivor benefit at 70, and survivor benefits max out at full retirement age. So that alone would have lost out the client on thousands of dollars that they would never get back. And so this is the reason we exist is, we train agents, we train advisors, we train anybody who wants to help people with this service, whether it's to help their other business or to just charge a fee or whatever they want to do with it.
yeah, because now I'm formulating a conversation with that client to have her uh, engage with maybe this kind of a process in order to uh, find out if what she has put in place is appropriate or if she needs to make some changes.
Yeah, and you know what? I think at the end of the day, it's just working with somebody gives them that peace of mind, right? And like I said, we have great the report is great. It helps people make their decisions, but walking them through it is really where clients love it because, people are looking to work with somebody. They're looking for someone who has their best interest, and working with somebody one on one will not just answer questions, but to ask the right questions back and really help them with their decisions.
So we have a couple of area agency on aging sources, and they have some resources within them to help people with Social Security questions. How does what you guys do fit in with that kind of offering available?
So I mean, again, the big thing is that Social Security is very complex, right? And it's not a new topic, right? Social Security has been trying to be worked for many years. The problem is that a lot of advisors out there are using Social Security more as like, let me talk about it for a few minutes and then start selling you on product, right? Or whatever it is. But what we found is people need genuine help with this topic. They really need to understand the nuances and things that go into it. And by doing that, it actually builds a more solid foundation and relationship where you can then talk to clients about other things that you do because they built that trust and relationship with you, right? And that's the big part of it is, it's too important of a topic to so many people to just say, hey, it's not important. It's more so like we're using this as the focal point and the niche to help people and use that as a way to build the relationship to then say, hey, do you need help with other things? Or the client might say, hey, can you also help me with, X, Y, and Z?
And just to be clear, the AAAs do not work with Social Security information, so you won't be able to access the stuff that you're doing now with them. So keep that in mind. They do the high cap program does the different insurances, but they do not do anything with Social Security.
Good to know. Thank you. So, does anybody have any questions, comments? So Tammy's saying, once you file, if it's a done deal, can you correct it? Is it too late? Would there be an issue if it was ever too late? Is it ever too late to make adjustment?
So there's a couple of things that people can do if they've already filed. It depends on their situation, but there's a withdrawal of the application that can take place within the first year. If it's after the first year of filing, you can do a voluntary suspension. There's also the 6-month back pay. So there's quite a few things that you can do. And again, I would also say that if you're unsure in any way, to consult because, God forbid you do receive an overpayment. If we catch it early enough, hopefully that it won't impact them too much. So like I said, call to action wise, we can help your clients. We would work with you as a partner where, you can, work with us as your back office and we can work with your clients directly. But if you're interested in helping your own clients with this and, you want to become certified, either way, reach out to me and let me know, how we can help you. And I'll walk you through either option and see what works for you. That we're very, personalized service. So whatever you're looking for is what we're here for.
What questions and answers should we be perking up our ears about if you're underpaid or overpaid or should people just get every year a review of their status, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when I work with clients, I usually give them like an update every year. Most of the people I try to get before they start claiming because it's easier at that point to say, okay, here's your plan going forward. And year after year, we can, work together to make sure that you're still on the right track. And then, there is situations where people either just started collecting or been collecting that just want some assurance of, okay, did I do everything right? Is there anything I need to change at this point? Is there anything I can change at this point?
And do you work with financial planners?
Yeah, I mean, so again, we have the two parts really to our program, but we train a lot of financial planners. We work with financial planners on more of a B2B relationship. So yeah, I mean, so when we work with organizations like CSA, we train a lot of them to become RSSAs as well. A lot of people want to help their own clients, but I understand that not everyone wants to get certified, and so we have that basically the back office support that okay we can help your clients if that's the direction you want to go.
What's that? Tammy wants to know, how much do you charge for the consultations? So if is there a average fee schedule that you suggest, or do people?
Yeah, I
How
mean
does that work?
on average, for because it sounds like for checking to make sure they did something right,
Yeah.
or I guess already collecting. Usually that's around the 200-250 range, and then for a new person or a new couple, it's around 500.
And do you have a protocol for that you obviously that you use, and is that a 1 hour? Is that 30 minutes? Is it multiple? Because
Yeah,
they
it's
might have to
usually
go back and say, okay, well, we need to get this information, and they have to gather it and then come back.
right. Yeah, so it's almost like for the 500, it's basically a personalized report. You get a initial 30 to 45-minute consultation, help with the application process, and then any follow-ups too is all also included. So, if they ever have any questions or something comes up, they can contact us. So it's kind of like an ongoing service for a one-time fee.
And then to provide a document or a letter or an email or something that for a statement of status. So what's determined, and then that person can take that forward with them to
Yeah,
make decisions going forward. Like when they start to talk to people like me or another financial planner or a wealth manager.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I know a lot of clients take what we create and provide it to their financial planner or even their accountant, or, even taking it to Social Security and saying, okay, here's the plan going forward. I do have other assets and things. How do I tie that into my financial plan? Right. So yeah, all of that's important as well. And that's great for building those kind of B2B relationships too.
Yeah, I
When
mean that's a really good tool to have for everybody.
Yeah.
when I went through the CFP program, there was very, very little that was covered under Social Security. So we more or less have to figure that out on our own and or specialize in it then. So it's really not common knowledge for most financial planners.
Yeah.
So this would be great. This is a good resource. Because I mean that's a huge part of everybody's financial well-being. So I'm just saying.
It is. It is. It is. I mean, it's a topic that really resonates with almost everybody, if not everybody, right? At the end of the day, what I like to say to clients is, you've worked your whole life and you've paid in all this money. Wouldn't it make sense to spend 30 minutes to an hour with somebody to make sure you're getting, what you can out of it? That's really the simplest, so-called pitch, right? But it doesn't have to be a salesy topic because again, it's more an education play. You're trying to educate people to help them make the best decision, right? I've helped plenty of friends and not friends but family members and family and friends family and everything, because at the end of the day people are just looking for somebody to get guidance, and just not enough people know how the system works, right? It's very complex and they don't make it easy for you. So
That's for sure. They don't make it easy at all for
I think
anybody.
Julie, I think they try and complicate it for some reason. It's like it's crazy, but again, this is the reason we exist, and this is the reason I love to help clients. And so, like I said, whether you want to, do what I do every day and help clients, or if you just want us to help your clients, either way, reach out to me. Let me know which direction you think you'd want to go, and we could always help you figure it out from there.
That's fabulous, fabulous. Does anybody have any more questions? All righty, everybody.
Thank you so much. We're gonna be leaving now, but we appreciate all that wonderful information.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
Julie and Skip, thank you guys so much for inviting me. I look forward to doing some more things with you both in the future.
oh, we're gonna keep you now as a resource for our seniors real estate industry specialist businesses. It's gonna be a huge resource. I'm really excited to know this now. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Absolutely. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.
So
Thank you.
next week, we're going to have a talk on VA benefits, which is really something that most of us know nothing about. Even the veterans don't know that much. So that should be worth tuning in for. And don't forget, next Wednesday and Thursday is the next SRES virtual live class that I'll be doing for CAR. and we're still taking signups for that. Remember, if you're already a SRES, then it's only $99 to retake it again, use it as a refresher, an update, and so forth. And there's a lot of changes going on now.
Yeah, that's next week, live virtual. The information is in the email that I sent out. Skip also put up the flyer on the chat. So that's next week, live virtual. And so now last week we were gonna do raffle, but we didn't do it last week, so now we're gonna do it this week. And last week poor Carol Sue, her internet pooped out on her and wasn't able to do her presentation, but we do have her rescheduled for December. So, and I put all of Carol Sue's information in the bulletin. So in the meantime, you can refer to that to have any information about life settlements, innovative settlements, and
So I got here late. Did Carol accept that date change then?
Carol, what do you think? She went to the refrigerator. So she didn't say, she just basically skipped. We're just telling her she got rescheduled for December. She's just going to have to put it on her schedule.
Well, hopefully she's going to be doing her hair that day or something that's real important and she can't do it. So, yeah.
All right, we're going to have our raffle now. So the raffle is going to be the Stage Not Age book. This is the prize for today, for this week.
That's for actors then?
That would be something. Yeah. Well, no, it's not
So,
that.
Jess, if you're still on, did the fires affect you at all?
Where? What fires? Who? What? Where?
Southern
What?
California.
Huh?
Watch the news. Watch the news. Yeah, there's fires in
Watch
Santa
the
Barbara
news.
area.
I don't watch the news.
I noticed.
What are they talking about?
I guess she's off anyway.
So, no, but which fire, which location are you talking about? Because the Grand Canyon's on fire.
Look, there's multiple fires all over California right now. There's one in or near Santa Barbara, and it looks like she dropped off the call.
Oh, Jessica, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'll follow. I'll send her a text. All right, everybody. Look at this cute bag. You like it?
Yeah,
It's a little house.
Okay.
Carol, I can see what you're writing here. That's funny. All right. Today. Oh,
It's me. Oh, thank you. No,
Jessica.
she's not here.
Jessica.
You have to be
Right.
present to win,
Well,
right?
she was here, so I'm going to send her the book. If anybody has anything else, any brilliant ideas? Hi, Liliana. Hi, Seb. Hi, Mickelin.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jill.
Mickelin.
Hi.
Mickelin, tell everybody about your listing you've got right now.
Oh, the one in Sunnyvale.
Yeah.
1 bedroom, 1 bath. Lowest price in the area at $599. Totally stage remodeled. Looks great. I did an area drone as well about the area, which is is right by. You can walk to the Lawrence Station, catch the electric train. There's high-tech companies everywhere, close to 101, 280, Costco, Monticello, where they have all these different eateries. And it's just a great area. And we're looking at anybody who wants to downsize, say a senior wants less square footage, a couple, or it doesn't have to be a couple, a high-techy person because the area is close to the high-tech companies, or somebody who's a first-time buyer and they want to stop renting. So it's a great property listed at $599. And I'll tell you right now, the dues are $720. There's another one in the complex that's the same square footage. I don't know why she put hers at $699, but I'm $100,000 less. We don't have the AC, but she has ceiling fans all over the place, as well as great location, quiet part of the complex. And it's a great, and it shows really, really well. It's on the MLS. And if you want, I can put the MLS number in the chat. You can take a look at everything there. I had the link earlier, and I think I got rid of it, but I know the MLS by heart.
So, that might be a really good option for 55 and over, downsizing, and 62 and over, I think even is the Heckham for purchase. So, so that's an option as well.
Okay, because we're going to social media to advertise for those 3 groups.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
And Seb, you've got a new podcast thing. Tell us a little about that.
Well,
Seb's typing.
yeah, not much to tell, really. I mean, I'm just working on it right now. I mean, I did my first episode, but I have some more guests lined up here. And yeah, I mean, my idea is to have a wildly popular mainstream podcast. And so it's going to be about, 60 plus living, but it's not really about real estate or Medicare or retirement planning or anything like that. I mean, all those things are topics for discussion, but it's really just about, life after 60 essentially is, and how to live your best life after 60. That's kind of the idea behind the podcast. So we'll see how it goes.
Maybe you could send Julie the synopsis of that and how to join in, et cetera, for her to put in the newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Happy to do that.
Definitely. Definitely. That's going to be fun. We're going to do lots of stuff.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I hope it's going to be fun. It's called 60 Plus Uncensored. So the idea is you can say whatever you want to say, right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Exactly. Because I wanted to be edgy a little bit anyway.
We're going to be edgy.
Yes. Yes. Edgy.
Liliana, are you there? Hello?
Hi, Julie. Hello.
We're going to get Liliana in on this as well.
Oh, please do.
How exciting. All right. Anything else? Anybody got anything else they want to share?
Yeah, I'm putting the link in the chat. So you can just hit the chat and the property will come out.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hey, Julie, do you see what I'm typing?
Once I hit the button.
33 years.
How's that for a big deal?
Wow.
33 years of doing something that most people still never heard of.
Right? Well,
We're trying to change that.
yeah. See, the pioneering, original, and independent life settlement consultant.
Look at you. Thank you,
There
Julie.
you go.
It's so much fun. It's such a good thing that so many people benefit from. It's a joy to do this. And we got to let more people know about it because 8 out of 10 people walk away from their life insurance policies and get nothing. That is a fact. That's why the life insurance industry and those companies have so much money.
Right.
People pay premiums, then they don't need it anymore, and they just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have made my mission to get them cash instead.
And we'll learn all about that in December.
In December, thanks to Xfinity, we will miss this summer.
No worries. No worries.
By the
All
way,
right, everybody.
All right, I'm jumping off. So long.
Rebecca's doing another workshop with us for those people who missed it the last time. And she's
Oh, when?
showing the other ones. It's August the 13th, Wednesday. It's going to be live and online. But she's going to be showing the ADUs, going a little bit deeper, showing the backyard or the backyard the junior ADUs for people who want a little bit more space. Of course, it has to be governed by your the ordinance in your community. But she's going to show those, and the one. In fact, you're on her video that she showed, the one in Montecito.
In Montecito, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's
was-
on the link too. When I get the flyers out, I'll be sending that out. But it's the 13th live and in person.
That's so necessary, Michelin.
And
Thank you.
with whose group is she doing that?
Well, the group that I put together, my clients who have all this equity, and we want to do something with it rather than let them put it in a trust, which is a great thing. But while they are living, they
Yes.
can downsize, use it themselves, finance it with a reverse mortgage. I have a reverse mortgage specialist who's going to be showing that part of it too. So this is basically a follow-up from the one we did June the 26th.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Send me all the
Yeah.
details about that so I can put it in the bulletin and so
Okay.
I can be there. Be there. Be square.
Yes, yes, yes. Everybody's welcome. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so
And,
much, Julie. You're great.
all right, everybody
Bye.
have a great week.
You
Thank you.
too.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.